Can't Hurt Me Part 1 by David Goggins, a true story of pain, power, and becoming unbreakable. Soft, suspenseful background music builds up. Narrator voice. They called him the toughest man alive, but no one knew the darkness he had to survive before he became that legend. This is not a story of muscles, medals, or military glory. This is the story of a broken boy who decided that pain would no longer control him. This is David Goggins' story. Scene 1. The boy who lived in fear. David was born in Buffalo, New York, but his childhood was far from ordinary. His father, David Goggins, ran a skating rink, but behind that cheerful music and flashing lights was a house full of violence and fear. Every night, his father beat his mother and sometimes David too. Imagine being a small boy, hiding in the corner of your own home, waiting for the storm to stop. That was David's world, a world where love was replaced by fear and safety was a dream. He learned early that life doesn't care about your comfort, but he also learned something powerful. Pain is the first test. Scene 2, the escape and the struggle. When David's mother finally escaped with him, they left everything behind: money, security, and home. They moved to a small town in Indiana, but the new life wasn't kind either. David was one of the only black kids in his school. He faced racism, insults, and humiliation every single day. People called him names, bullied him, and made him feel like he didn't belong anywhere. And slowly, David started to disappear inside himself. He became shy, overweight, and full of self-hate. He called himself a nobody. Scene 3, the mirror of truth. One night, David looked into the mirror and what he saw made him sick. He weighed nearly 300 pounds. He was working as an exterminator, killing cockroaches, sweating in kitchens, and feeling his life slipping away. That mirror became his enemy and his teacher. He realized, no one is coming to save me. If I want a new life, I have to build it with my own pain. So he made a decision. He would become a Navy SEAL, the toughest training in the world. But there was one problem. He was too heavy and had only 3 months to lose over 100 pounds. Most people would call it impossible. But David Goggins didn't care about most people. Scene 4, the pain that built him. Woke up at AM every day. He ran miles until his feet bled. He rode his bike, lifted weights, and forced himself to move even when his body screamed in pain. He stopped eating junk food and lived on salads, eggs, and small meals. Every day, he talked to himself in the mirror, not softly, but like a soldier preparing for war. He called it the accountability mirror. He would write down his weaknesses on sticky notes: lazy, fat, afraid. And every day, he fought to erase them, not by wishing, but by working.
Scene 5, the first day orphanally. He got accepted into Navy SEAL training, but that's where hell truly began. They call it Hell Week for a reason. You sleep maybe 3 hours total, while running 200 miles and freezing in the ocean. David's body broke down. He suffered from pneumonia, stress fractures, and knee injuries. But even worse, he was pulled out of training. He failed. He went home broken again. But instead of giving up, he said one line that would change everything. Greater than, I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. Scene 6, becoming unbreakable. David returned, again and again. 3 times he went through Navy SEAL training. 3 times he faced pain, humiliation, and near-death exhaustion. And finally, he made it. He became a U.S. Navy SEAL, one of the hardest achievements in the military world. But that wasn't enough. He went on to complete Army Ranger School, Air Force Tactical Air Controller training, and ultra-marathons that most humans can't even imagine. Scene 7, the 100-mile Rachoni of his biggest tests came when he had to qualify for a charity ultramarathon. He had to run 100 miles in under 24 hours, with no training. He showed up, overweight, unprepared, and everyone laughed at him. But David didn't run with his legs. He ran with his mind. After 70 miles, his feet were broken, and his body was bleeding. Most people would have quit, but Goggins kept going, saying, greater than, I found a new zone, a place beyond pain, where only the will to survive lives. He finished all 100 miles. When he crossed that finish line, he wasn't just a man, he was a message. You can go far beyond what your mind believes. Scene 8, the 40% rule. David discovered something powerful. When your mind says you're done, you're actually only 40% done. The rest is locked behind fear and comfort. He called it the 40% rule, and it became his life philosophy. He used it in everything: running, training, and living. Whenever he wanted to quit, he remembered, there's always more fuel left inside. Scene 9, the battle with the Nevin. After all his achievements, David Goggins never saw himself as a hero. He saw himself as a project, always under construction. Every day, he fought against laziness, weakness, and doubt. He believed that the real war isn't outside, it's inside. And if you can master your mind, no one can hurt you. That's where the title comes from, Can't Hurt Me, because the worst pain, physical or emotional, can't break a person who has decided to own it. Music builds to emotional peak. Narrator voice. David Goggins turned trauma into triumph, weakness into strength, and pain into purpose. He showed the world that being hard doesn't mean being cold. It means being mentally unbreakable. He didn't find peace by escaping pain. He found it by walking straight through it. And that's the secret. When you stop running from pain, pain becomes your power.
Can't Hurt Me Part 2. The Mind Beyond Limits. Soft background music begins, the sound of determination and heartbeat. Scene 1. The war inside the mind. After becoming a Navy SEAL, David Goggins realized something surprising. The hardest battle wasn't the physical training, it was the battle inside his mind. He had faced bullies, pain, racism, and endless fear, but now he faced his own thoughts. Because even when you wear the uniform of a warrior, your mind still whispers you're not good enough. Goggins decided he would silence that voice forever, not by ignoring it, but by conquering it. He created his own mental weapon, a technique that would change his life. Scene 2. The cookie jar technique. When things got hard, when he wanted to quit, Goggins reached into something he called the cookie jar. But this jar wasn't full of real cookies. It was full of memories of victory. Every time he overcame pain, every time he did something impossible, he saved that memory like a cookie inside his mental jar. So when he faced a new challenge, like a 200-mile race or SEAL training, he would reach into that jar, pull out a memory, and remind himself, I've been here before. I can handle this. The cookie jar, he said, is the proof that you've been a savage before and you can be one again. It wasn't motivation. It was evidence that he was stronger than his pain. Scene 3. Breaking the limits. After becoming a SEAL, Goggins didn't stop. He pushed further. He entered the world of ultra-endurance racing where pain lives. He ran 100-mile, 200-mile, and even 2 400-mile races through deserts, mountains, and freezing nights. He once ran the Badwater 135, one of the toughest races on Earth, minus 135 miles through Death Valley, California, where the heat melts your shoes. Most people can't even stand outside there for long. David Goggins ran through it with broken bones and bleeding feet. Because to him, pain wasn't a signal to stop, it was a signal to grow. Scene 4. The calloused man. Goggins realized that just like your hands form calluses when you work hard, your mind can form calluses too. Every painful experience, every time you choose to keep going, it makes your mind a little tougher. He called it the calloused mind. When you face pain enough times, he said, you stop fearing it, you start respecting it. Pain becomes your training partner. Fear becomes your teacher. That's how he trained his mind, by doing the things he hated most. Running in the cold, waking up at a.m., studying when he didn't want to, and never letting comfort win. Because comfort kills ambition, and he wanted to stay uncomfortable forever. Scene 5. The power of visualization. Goggins used another powerful technique, visualization. Before every mission, every race, and every goal,
he would close his eyes and imagine every single difficulty that could happen. The pain, the fear, the failure, the exhaustion. He didn't imagine success. He imagined suffering. Why? Because when that suffering came for real, he had already faced it in his mind. He was prepared. Visualization wasn't about dreaming. It was about mentally rehearsing pain so it never surprised him again. When you know what hell looks like, he said, you stop being afraid of walking through it. Scene 6. The accountability mirror returns. Years later, even after fame and success, Goggins still used his accountability mirror. He still wrote down his weaknesses because he believed self-honesty is the foundation of greatness. No excuses, no self-pity. He would say to himself in the mirror, greater than don't stop being real. You're only as hard as your last challenge. This mindset kept him grounded, kept him hungry, kept him human, because success can make you soft. And Goggins refused to become soft again. Scene 7. Facing his body's breaking point. But even the toughest mind lives inside a human body. Years of extreme training broke Goggins physically. He had heart defects, stress fractures, and surgeries. But instead of retiring, he came back again. He went through surgery and recovery with the same mental fire. Even when doctors told him to rest, he trained his mind through books, journaling, and reflection. He learned that sometimes strength means healing, not fighting. He understood that being tough isn't about always pushing. It's about never quitting on yourself, no matter how long it takes to rise again. Scene 8. Becoming an inspiration. Word of his story spread. Soon, millions of people started following him, runners, soldiers, students, and dreamers. But Goggins didn't want fame. He wanted impact. He said, "Greater than I don't want people to call me a hero. I want them to look in the mirror and see their own." He became a symbol, not of perfection, but of relentless discipline. He showed the world that motivation fades, but discipline stays. He didn't tell people to be like him. He told them to become their own warrior. Scene 9. Lessons from the fire. Here are the lessons Goggins left the world with. Not in fancy words, but in real pain. 1. You are capable of far more than you think. Your mind quits long before your body does. 2. Accountability is freedom. Be brutally honest with yourself. Truth builds strength. 3. Pain is the price of growth. Every great thing lives on the other side of discomfort. 4. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is forever. Don't rely on moods. Build habits that work in silence. 5. The 40% rule. When you think you're done, you're really only 40% done. Push past that limit. That's where life begins.
Scene 10. The legacy of a savage entity. David Goggins is more than a Navy SEAL, athlete, or author. He's a symbol of mental toughness, a man who turned suffering into art. He runs, trains, and speaks not for glory, but to remind every human being that we all have a warrior within us. I'm not the strongest, I'm not the fastest, but I'm willing to suffer longer than anyone else. That's his secret endurance of the soul. Music rises to a powerful emotional peak. Narrator voice. David Goggins' life teaches one eternal truth. You can't control the world, but you can control your response to it. You can't avoid pain, but you can choose what that pain creates. And when you do that, when you face pain, own it, and rise above it, nothing and no one can hurt you again. That's the message of Can't Hurt Me. You were born to be more. Now, it's time to prove it.